What is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Hot Toys Hotline. As always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. We currently have a goal of 1,250 subscribers, and we're sitting at about 1,040. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We will be doing that 1,000 subscriber giveaway very soon, so if you're not subscribed, make sure you do so. That way you can make sure you get entered into that giveaway, as well as keep up to date with all of my new content, as well as our weekly live streams twice a week. Guys, as you can see, today we have the 108 Toys Death God, or 108 Toys Darkseid is listed here on the box. This is a third-party figure, so technically it cannot say Darkseid. They just threw that on the box because they don't care about nothing. I wanted to show you the scale of this box. We're not going to be doing our rotating turntable this time because this box is just way too big. But I will show you around the box later on. But let me put my hand on this box for scale. You can see this is quite a giant box, so you can infer that the figure is going to be quite giant himself. Give me 1 second though. This is an outer sleeve on the box. I will take the outer sleeve off so we can get another look at the inner packaging. Give me one moment. And this is what you are greeted with once you remove that sleeve. If I can turn it over, and I will certainly try. There's a look at the back as well. Really cool picture of him using those Omega beams. But let's not waste time. Let me take the figure and all of the accessories out of the box, and let's take a closer look at all of the details. Really quick, guys, I almost forgot. I wanted to show you how he arrives inside of the packaging. I know us 6-scale collectors are mostly used to those plastic clamshells. This one, they did something a little different, and he is surrounded by foam, so you can see all the accessories in the figure surrounded by foam. But let me take him out now, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, everybody. Well, believe it or not, these are all the additional accessories that come with the 108 Toys Death God. Of course, we're going to start with the hands, those being the most basic accessories. I'm going to grab this set here. I do think these are very well sculpted. These are our staff gripping hands, as you could see. I like that the detail goes all the way inside the hand. I've seen some cheaper figures where they kind of stop to where you can't really see it. They kind of went all out in terms of the sculpt on this one. I think the sculpt looks absolutely fantastic. The paintwork, I think it could have been a little bit better. It does look kind of flat. There's kind of a green tinge on the knuckles, and I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that. Apart from that, though, I am very much a fan of the sculpt here. I love the veins and the skin texture. I think it looks fantastic. And of course, this is mirrored on the other side because this is the same hand, just on the opposite side. And these do attach with a normal hand peg system. I just wanted to show you that. But again, the sculpt is pretty fantastic, in my opinion, for a third-party figure. Let me get these out of the way. And let's grab the fisted hands. So again, great sculpt work on these, in my opinion. It's just the paint job I feel like could be a little bit better. It's a little bit flat. But apart from that, really nice sculpt work, and you can see even in the fingernails, those are very nicely sculpted. And we have some sculpting detail on the inside of the palm of the hand as well. And I think that looks pretty solid to me. Next, guys, we're going to grab this head sculpt. And now immediately after grabbing the sculpt, I will say I did notice a bit of an issue. You could see along the chin plate there, it's very obvious, but the sculpt isn't flush with the actual helmet. And you can kind of see it all around. There's that gapping in between. I know this is a third-party figure, however, this figure is about $330 typically. So to see that, definitely a bit unfortunate, and I imagine that is present on the other sculpt as well, and we're going to take a look at that later when we look at the figure. But apart from that, guys, I do absolutely really like this sculpt. I think it's pretty well sculpted. I think the likeness is 100% there, and I very much do like the expression on this one. And I'll grab this light so I can kind of put some more light so you can see the paint on the eyes. I think that looks absolutely fantastic in how they painted the eyes. Now, of course, the elephant in the room, looking at the helmet itself, you can already see the color is definitely off. I'm guessing this company was looking at the darker scenes that we see Darkseid in, and they thought that it was more of like a gunmetal and silver. Obviously, as we know Darkseid, and as he is seen in the Snyder Cut, it is more of like a purplish blue tint to the armor, and they didn't quite nail that with this. You could see it's more of a silver and black here, where it should be a purplish blue color, so definitely some points taken off for that. But I know a lot of people who are customizers are having a very easy time customizing this because they do give you a great sculpt to work with. It's just it needs some changes in that department. But let me set the sculpt aside, guys, and put this light down, and we're going to grab the final piece that he comes with. And of course, if you guys have seen the Snyder Cut, you would be very familiar with this piece. This is the staff that he takes out in that beginning fight scene on the Battle on Earth, where he is fighting Earth's mightiest heroes. he slams this on the ground and creates that Omega symbol on the ground, scorching the earth. I thought this was really cool, and I'm very glad to see that they included this. Is the paintwork absolutely top tier? Not really, but I think it looks good enough. I honestly don't have many complaints about that. Moving down the shaft of this weapon here, you can see there's a bit of a mold defect there on mine. Not a huge deal to me, but overall, I think it's really cool they included this. Moving down towards the bottom, you see you kind of have that like spire shape towards the bottom here, just a bit smaller than it is on the top. And of course, it also is slightly differently shaped, but it is definitely really cool that they included this, and you saw those holding hands that he comes with. Obviously, that's what those are for. Unless you have some third-party accessories you want to stick with him, I think a lot of people are going to be using this with him. But let me set this aside, guys, and let me grab the main attraction, which is the figure, and we'll take a closer look at the figure and see what we think of that. Alright guys, now here we are in the light box with the 108 Toys Death God. Now, I do want to give you guys a close-up look of that Omega Beam sculpt. And later on in the video, I will turn the lights off so you can see the eyes lit up. I don't imagine they're that bright, but of course we'll take a look at it just to see. As I suspected, you can see the same thing with this sculpt, that gap in between the helmet and the actual face portion. Definitely unfortunate. Again, this is a very pricey figure. I know it's third party and that's kind of expected, but this figure is $330, guys, so you would expect a little bit more. If we back it up a little bit, you can see some great detail in that armor chest plate. Now again, as I mentioned, this is not the correct color. It is more of like a purplish blue hue, whereas this is silver and black throughout. I'm guessing they were watching some of those darker scenes where we see Darkseid in the Snyder Cut, and they just said, hey, it must be that color because that's what it looks like in that scene. But that's just my thought on it. However, I do think they provided us with a fantastic sculpt, and those who are good at customizing, I think will have a heyday with this. In fact, I've already seen quite a few posts on Facebook where people modified this and they made him look absolutely fantastic. I don't personally have the talent for painting, but maybe I will ask somebody to do it for me. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is the skin texture on the arms here. You can see, again, I don't really have an issue with how this thing was sculpted. I think they did a great job. The interesting thing, too, is some of the armor pieces actually pop off. You could see revealing the forearm here and the nicely textured and detailed skin. This does just pop back on. And, after we go through the body, I will take the armor off and show you guys what he looks like without the armor on, because the chest plate actually removes as well. Moving towards the back, guys, you could see absolutely incredible sculpted detail on that back armor. I actually have no complaints about that. Again, it's just the color that's definitely off for me. And you can see that sculpted in tricep detail on the back of his arms as well. I think that looks absolutely fantastic. And you can see pre-installed on the figure, we do have some kind of open, relaxed hands. Again, sculpted really well. I think the paint could be a bit less flat, but other than that, I think it looks pretty good. And there's a shot of those armor bracers from behind. Moving down to the skirt, guys, again, very well sculpted. In terms of the material, this is like a harder rubber. It is a bit flexible, but this is a rubber material. The armor chest plate is like a harder plastic. So I just wanted to point that out. It does have some different materials. Moving down to the bottom, you can see the rear where we have some exposed joints. And then you have these calf armor pieces, which I'm not sure if those are removable. I'll definitely check when we get to that portion of the video. Moving around to the front, guys, you could see great sculpting work here on this calf armor, and then on the shoes as well, we have some great sculpting work. The paint apps are good. Again, it's just not the correct color. If the color was correct, this would be an absolute home run for a third-party figure, in my opinion. Taking a look at the sole of the shoes, we can see there is some weathering and detail in there, which I think is really cool. But of course, they are very plain due to the type of shoe that he is wearing. And again, moving back around to the front, you can see that sculpted in quad detail, which I think is pretty incredible. I think that looks fantastic. And then we have a front shot of this skirt as well. But guys, let me take the armor off of this guy so we can get a look at what he looks like with all of the armor removed. I will be right back. Alright, real quick, I did want to show you guys how the chest armor works. It is magnetized together, and very well in my opinion. You can see those are the two halves, and of course they just sandwich together and magnetize together. If I could do this on camera properly, there we go. And I do think it's really cool that they included a gash in the armor, and you'll see when I grab the figure, there's also a gash in his shoulder. If you guys remember, again, from that first battle on Earth that he had in the beginning of the Snyder Cut version of Justice League, he does get cracked in the shoulder with that axe. And it's a very brutal scene, but I think it's absolutely awesome. And the fact that he survived that is pretty impressive. So let me grab the figure real quick, guys, and we'll take a look at what he looks like without the armor on. Alright guys, here he is with the armor removed. And again, in that beginning scene, you do see him in this manner with this kind of cavity in his chest here. I think, again, the sculpt is really good. The paint, I think, could be a little bit better. I did throw on the standard sculpt on him so you can kind of see what it looks like. Let me tilt it down a little bit. There you go. Again, I wanted to show that gash. I think that's nice attention to detail. They put that gash from the axe from that beginning scene. I will say the exposed joints here obviously are a bit more obvious when you take off the armor, so I personally would not run him like that because I love the armored look. However, if you do like this look, I don't think that's terrible in my personal opinion. And again, I think it looks pretty good. If we move him around to the back, we can kind of see all the sculpted in detail back here. Again, I think they did a great job, especially on those arms sculpting and those triceps. It's just unfortunate that you could see those joints are so prevalent. However, it doesn't really bother me that much because personally, I won't be running him without the armor on myself. But guys, let me put the armor back on and let's take a look at the articulation on this figure. So let's take a look at the articulation on this figure. This is obviously a very big question that people have. Starting with the head, he does move left and right pretty freely, up and back pretty easily as well, and you could rock the head. There is kind of a gap in the back of his head here, as you could see, so it does move freely because of that. Especially when you have the armor off, it does look a bit goofy from the back, so I just wanted to point that out. In terms of the shoulder articulation, you could see it kind of stops there, and that's very unfortunate. Another ding for the figure, in my opinion. I know some people are probably saying to themselves, I really wouldn't need it much higher than that, but me personally, it is a bit unfortunate. Now, I do understand that is mainly due to the design of the figure, so I'm not going to completely knock it for that. I just wanted to point that out to you all. Of course, moving forward, you can do a complete 360 if you wanted to. Absolutely no issues there. And of course, that will be the same on the other side. Complete 360, no issues. In terms of the elbow bend, you do get a full 90. Of course, that'll be the same on both sides. You can kind of make them raise the roof if you want. You know, do whatever you want with your Darkseid figure. And then the articulation on the wrist, guys, you do have your standard ratcheted ball joint. I think it feels really good. This is probably the nicest joint on the figure in my personal opinion, and it does rotate full 360. Of course, it'll be the same on the other side. This one is ratcheted as well, and it has a really nice feel to it. You do have some ab crunch, but it's very, very minimal. As you can see, that's all you get there, and then there is a gap there. So you want to have it crunch forward anyway, in my opinion. I will say this waist joint is very loose, and that's obviously due to the weight of the figure. Let me put his arms down so we can move down to the lower half of the body. And the lower half of the body is where I have the most concern, guys. In terms of the legs, yes, you can raise it. You can hear that squeaking noise. It does kind of hold its position okay in terms of raising the legs. You won't really do much with Darkseid because he's not a very acrobatic type character, but you do have some restriction here from the skirt. That's probably why they made it in rubber, because it makes it a little bit easier to pose. The biggest issue though, guys, are these knee joints. They are very, very loose. And this one is actually the better of the two. If you look at my other one here, guys, it's just super droopy. It just kind of falls on its own sometimes, and I think this will cause issues with him standing, so that's a bit unfortunate. Moving down to the feet, you do have rocking left to right, up and down, rotate left and right very easily, so I have no issues there. But I will be honest with you guys, I definitely am concerned about those legs. I don't think he's going to be able to stand very well, and I think you will have to go the custom stand route for this guy, just because those knee joints are very weak. I may try to reinforce mine with that Kiki joint tightener and see if that helps at all. And I did also tell you guys I would show you these Omega Beam eyes lit up, so give me 1 second. Let me turn the head sculpt on and turn the lights down in the booth, and we'll get a look at what that looks like. Alright guys, real quick I wanted to show you, there is a switch on the inside here. You can see when you flip this switch to on, you can see the light is there. The light is not very bright at all. I could see people who are really interested in seeing this lit up, modifying this sculpt with stronger lights. I want to show you flipping it on and off. You could see it doesn't light up very much, but I did want to show you that in case some of you were curious. I do think it looks really cool, and I love this Omega Beam eye sculpt. It's just not the best in my opinion in terms of how well it's lit up. But guys, I think we're going to do something fun this time. I'm going to take this figure outside, and we're going to take a couple clips of him out in the sunlight, and then we'll close out this video. Well, let's get into my final thoughts on the 108 Toys Death God. Guys, to be honest with you, at a price tag of $330, I kind of expected a lot more from this figure. As I mentioned in the review, there were many issues that I came across as I was unboxing this guy and playing around with him. Number one, of course, the color is a bit off on the armor. It's supposed to be like a purplish bluish hue. I did mention that in the video. Of course, I knew that going into it because I had seen pictures of him.
but that still is a complaint on my end. I'm not sure why they went with this color. Next, guys, as I said, the body is very, very loose. There's a reason I'm holding him here, because he doesn't stand very well on his own. You can see in the posing segment I did get him to stand. However, it's very sketchy. As I said in the video, I would recommend getting a custom stand for this guy, or maybe repurposing another stand from another figure, because his knees are very, very loose. I'm going to try to work on that, maybe use some of that Kiki joint tightener and kind of try to tighten up the joints a little bit and see if that helps at all. Because as he stands right now, or as he doesn't stand, it's definitely very sketchy, especially if you're going to be putting him on a high shelf or something. I personally wouldn't risk it. Another thing, guys, that really annoyed me, these arm pieces here, they come off very easily. You can see I just pulled that off with no effort. I feel like they should have gone with magnets on these and maybe had some magnets inside the arm. I know that would be a bit more difficult for them to do, but they certainly could have done it. These are just friction fit, as I mentioned in the video, and they fall off very easily. I found myself having to edit out many times as I was looking at the figure and showing it to you all. The arm bracers just falling off constantly, so I did want to mention that to you all. That was very annoying. Next, guys, these pegs here are an absolute pain in the butt to take out. It's a pain in the butt to change out the hands, and it's very sketchy for that as well, because if you're not careful, you could break the pegs, and he does not come with any replacement pegs. Actually, during the posing segment of this video where I took the figure outside, I was sitting there struggling for about 10 minutes to try to get the one hand out of the peg because it was stuck really good in there. So that's another thing I wasn't really a fan of with this figure, guys. And be very careful with those pegs again, because you do not get any replacements. And then another thing I mentioned during the video is the lights in his eyes are pretty pathetic. They really don't shine very bright at all. It's cool that they included it, and the batteries do come pre-installed, by the way, but they're just not very bright at all. So those are my main issues with the figure, guys. I will say, if you're trying to put together the ultimate Snyder Cut Justice League display like I am, this was a must-have for me. I'm definitely glad that I got it. I did not pay $330. I found a really good deal on Mercari for this guy, so I'm really happy about that, because to be honest with you guys, at $330, this guy is not worth it in my opinion. Of course, with all the issues I put forth to you, kind of use your judgment and see what it is worth to you. But again, in my opinion, I would be pretty upset if I spent $330 on this guy. But with what I paid, I'm happy with it. I'm hoping to find somebody that can repaint this guy and make him more accurate to what he actually looks like in the Snyder Cut. So if you're able to do that for me, definitely reach out, because I would love to get that done on mine. Again, as I mentioned in the video, I do not have the talent to do that personally, but I would love to do that to mine to kind of make them that much more better in my collection. But apart from that, guys, as I mentioned, there is a great base here for a figure. You have great sculpted in detail in the armor. I do really like both of the head sculpts. As I mentioned in the video, the face is not exactly glued flush to the helmet, so that's kind of annoying, but I can look past that because I really do like the sculpts. Overall, this figure does have great presence, and I'm really excited to own it just because, again, I am putting together a Snyder Cut Justice League display. I'm going to have this guy. I have the Toys era Steppenwolf on pre-order, and then I have all of my Hot Toys Justice League waiting for him, and I can't wait for that Cyborg to come out to fully complete my Justice League, so I had to have this guy to complete that display. Again, this is still probably the best option right now when it comes to Darkseid in 6-scale form, so I am happy that I own it, but it does not come without many issues in my opinion. But that's all I got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope if you are considering this figure, this helps you make your decision. Me personally, again, I'm happy to own it. I'm just a bit disappointed. And also, when you get a chance, I just put up 2 recent reviews of Claire Redfield by Damn Toys and the Iconic Studios Ryu from Street Fighter V. So definitely check out those reviews if you haven't already. I hope you guys enjoy them. And as always, guys, please consider subscribing to the channel. We currently have a goal of 1,250 subscribers, as I said at the beginning of the video. So definitely consider subscribing if you enjoy my content. And as always, guys, we will see you on Thursday for our weekly live stream where we talk about all the 6-scale news and anything fun going on in the 6-scale world. So I hope to see you all then. If not, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. Take care, and I will see you next time.